Okay. All right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Inshallah. So we're back again on Sunday. And we started reading Frugality from 19th Flash. And we're going to continue, hopefully, where we stopped. But I think like maybe we were talking with a couple of brothers, and inshallah, so we're going to take it again one more time from third point, just to make sure, like, and also give it a little bit of kind of a summary where we stopped, and inshallah, read one more time and to make it better and to understand, especially the analogy and the example here. Ustad Biduzaman shares with us in third point. All right. Okay, so let's begin one more time from third point. Inshallah, this week we have Brother Baikar with us, and then a couple other brothers are going to join to our discussion. Okay, third point from 19th Flash. We said in the second point that the sense of taste is a doorkeeper. And indeed, for the heedless and those who have not progressed spiritually, or advanced in the way of things, it is like a doorkeeper. Wastefulness should not be indulged in, or the sense of taste's price be raised from 1 to 10 for the sake of giving it pleasure. However, the sense of taste of those truly on the way of things, those seeking reality, and those who approach reality with their hearts is like a supervisor and inspector in the kitchens of divine mercy. As is explained in the comparison in the sixth word, its duty is to recognize and weigh up the varieties of divine bounties on the tiniest scales present in it to the number of foods, and to send the body and stomach news of the food in the form of thanks. In this respect, the sense of taste does not only look to the physical body, since it looks also to the heart, spirit, and mind. It holds a position and importance superior to the stomach. It can follow its pleasure on condition it is not wasteful or extravagant, and is purely to carry out its duty of thanks and recognize and perceive the varieties of divine bounty. And on condition it is illicit and does not lead to degradation and begging. In fact, delicious foods may be preferred in order to employ the tongue, which bears the sense of taste in giving thanks. The following is an instance of Sheikh Gailani's wonder-working, which alludes to this truth. At one time, being instructed by Gawsul Azam Sheikh Gailani, may his mystery be sanctified, was the only son of an aged and anxious woman. This esteemed lady had gone to her son's cell and seen that he had nothing to eat but a piece of dry black bread. Her maternal compassion was aroused by his emaciated condition resulting from his asceticism. She felt sorry for him. Later, she went to Gawsal Azam in order to complain, and so the sheikh was eating into roast chicken. Out of her concern, she declared, "O master, my son is dying of hunger while you're eating chicken." Whereupon Gawsal Azam said to the chicken, "Rise up with God's permission." At this, the cooked chicken bones assembled and were thrown out of the dish as an entire live chicken. This has been related unanimously through many reliable and documented channels as a marvel of someone whose extraordinary wonder-working is world famous. Gawsul Azam said to her, "When your son reaches this level, then he too can eat chicken. Thus, the meaning of Gausul Azam's words is this: whenever your son's spirit rules his body, and his heart rules the desires of his soul, and his reason rules his stomach, and he wants pleasure for the sake of offering things, then he may eat delicious things. All right, so we finished third point, and let's scroll up back again, and let's open up the discussion to brothers and whoever would like to, of course, let me share their thoughts and opinions. Please feel free to join in. And yeah, and I'd like to start with maybe Brother Baikar. So if we can just reorganize our thoughts and maybe just the points that we made from last week, maybe we can just again share our what we're thinking about this, and then just any points or maybe uh, the paragraphs that we would like to maybe just drag our attention to a little further and a little kind of just detail to understand it better. Would you like to comment first, Bakram?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum all. Yeah, I wasn't part of the discussion last week, so I might be just repeating some of the things or missing what we already covered. Uh, this part is really a very, very crucial part. Most of the time, we just go into the thoughts of oh, a karama, can I shall I perform a karama to maybe let me ask this, what did we cover last week? Maybe you can remind us very shortly so we can go from there.
Mhm. Yes, 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 yes,
what,
certainly.
what do we
Mhm.
remember from last week? Maybe I just wanna
Oh,
go.
yeah, yeah. I think like we talked about, especially from here, just the importance part of maybe just eating and just drinking. So I think like we covered the first 2 points.
Mhm.
And so we were talking about like this, especially from starting from the first point, the importance of thanks. And we discussed about, so we should not be even, I'm going like very kind of quickly, just a kind of very short just summary, that maybe we shouldn't just maybe diminish it into on the levels of all the way down to like eating and drinking, just the importance of like an offering thanks in return for the bounties that just like we've been bestowed upon. So we shouldn't be kind of wasteful of while we are eating and drinking. So we shouldn't exceed like in some certain kind of amounts in order to not to forget the importance of those given. And then a couple of brothers mentioned that, so like if we shouldn't, it shouldn't be diminished into like an only eating and drinking. So we should be also kind of very careful and understanding of the time and other bounties that we've been given. So, and in short, like, and I just mean we shouldn't take anything in life for granted, and because otherwise, so it will be kind of wasteful. So, and we are responsible of in every single bounties we've been given, and they are again and again, like, they've been given to us in for thanks in return, right? So. And in the second point, so again, like in this when we discussed about the importance of Ustad Buddhism, like it discusses about that how some, especially the tongue, and just they're serving as a doorkeeper, and the stomach is a master and ruler, as it's pointed out, because it's basically just while you're just eating, and so tongue is just serving only as just like in someone letting other like some others to go in. So just whether like just you are bribing or just paying high prices to enter, so is like almost kind of meaningless. So it's just the ruler is, of course, I mean, just something is different. So therefore, of course, I'm just again Ustad Buddhism like moves into third point. So it gives us this great analogy and great some anecdote like, kind of from another kind of just sheikh. So about like so how important it is to eating and drinking and everything. So for other purposes, I guess if I did my best summarizing kind of quickly. I hope this is helpful enough to gather our thoughts and remind us some examples that we talked.
Perfect, Nazif abi. Alhamdulillah, you made a great summary, and mashallah, we covered a lot until
Yeah.
here. Uh, you also mentioned that you also study economics. The first thing that just really took my attention was while reading this chapter, uh, why Ustad focuses on so much on the eating and drinking side, just the sustenance side, uh,
Mhm.
you just said it shouldn't be restricted to that, and we should be, frugal in our timing, in our sources, in
Mhm. Mhm.
all the other stuff that we can in our abilities, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
kind of covers almost everything.
Right.
You study economics, so it's
Mhm.
a very comprehensive
Right.
topic that that
Mhm.
that we should maybe consider all of these things. But start uh, in the just in the first topic and second point and third point, all these are going about the sustenance, and then
Mhm.
this third point to me is kind of wrapping up and summarizing everything for us. Most of the time, again, we just kind of start thinking about, oh, he's talking about karama is
Mhm.
uh, so what am I going to do just to eat a chicken? Shall I have also karama? I don't
Mhm.
even astaghfirullah, believe in karama, whatever, so
Mhm.
I saw people discussing over these things, but I guess we are missing a great point here, that
Mhm.
first of all, maybe it may help us to think about, uh, even in the book that is compiled about these topics, it goes with Ramadan,
Mhm.
thanks, and frugality.
Yes.
Ramazan, şükür, and iktisat, right?
Exactly.
So
Mhm.
yeah, even these, if we start thinking, while these three things, brought together, what's the relation between these topics? It may help us, to maybe understand more on this. Um, Inshallah, brothers can help us opening up. I just wanted to start reflecting on these things, how they're so closely related, and why is just economy starts with the risk issue. So uh, if we I want to quote from the risale on thanks, the shukr.
Mhm.
It starts with again taking our attention to the risk part. So
Right.
thankfulness is our fundamental duty here. We
Mhm.
should be thankful. It starts with the ayah,
Mhm.
taking our attention, why we are not thanking, and we should be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then again, it starts with all this setup. What is the setup about? Let me quickly read through it.
Mhm.
Uh, e- uh, for if the universe is observed carefully, it's seen from the way it's arranged that everything results in thanks. Each looks to thanks to an extent, is turned towards it. It is as though thanks is the most important fruit of the tree of creation.
Mhm.
Thanks is the most important fruit of the tree of creation. The whole universe, galaxies, suns, planets, and all the other things. And the end fruit is
Mhm.
thankfulness of humankind. This is a very really strange thing, that we need to really understand how important it is, so how it is really uh, brought together, and how this small thing could be the real fruit of that huge universe.
Mhm.
So he continues describing the setup. We see in the creation of the world that its beings are arranged as though in a circle with life as its central point. all beings look to life and serve life and produce the necessities of life. That's to say, the one who created the universe chose life from it, giving it preference.
Mhm.
So if it was all, the planets, galaxies, atmosphere, storms, flashing, all these, revolutions, changes, but there was no life,
Mhm.
you know, it wouldn't make sense. Day and night, it wouldn't, winter and summer, it wouldn't make sense. When life comes into the
Mhm.
scene, we see that, oh, all these things are serving one. They
Right.
unite and work in harmony to just, flourish, blossom.
Mhm.
This is the life. Then we see that he created the animal kingdom in the form of a circle and placed man at its center. The human being is at the center of all the living beings. Simply, he centered the aims intended from animate beings on man, gathering all living creatures around him and subjugating them to him. He made them serve him and him dominant over them. That is to say, the glorious Creator chose man from among living beings and willed and decreed his position for him in the world.
Mhm.
Then we see that the world of man and the animal world too are disposed like circles with sustenance placed at their center. This is very interesting.
Mhm.
For example, all things are sustained by Allah, right? But
Mhm.
we see that, uh, let me finish this paragraph. We see that the world of man, the animal world, too, are disposed like circles with the sustenance, the rizq placed at their center. He has made mankind and the animals enamored of sustenance, has subjugated them to it, and made them serve it. What rules them is sustenance, and he has made sustenance such a vast, rich treasury that it embraces all his innumerable bounties. So uh, everything is sustained by Allah. It could be uh, just like trees. Trees just put their roots in the mud, right? And they're
Mhm.
sustained. Or, some other animals are just sustained from a simple water, just from air. But
Mhm.
it is really strange that from morning till night, with all our energy, we just run after sustenance, after rizq.
Mhm.
Everything is turned about around it. The morning we wake up, oh, what am I going to eat or drink? We start with that. And then what am I going to have in lunch? What am I going to have dinner? What kind of career or job I should have to make my bread money, right? From
Mhm.
so the whole life is just, we run after it. So why? It's so much important. It's just placed in the center of everything.
Right. Yeah.
Even with the faculty called the sense of taste, he has placed on the tongue sensitive scales to the number of foods so that they can recognize the taste of the many varieties of sustenance. That is to say, the strangest, richest, most wonderful, most agreeable, most comprehensive, and most marvelous truth in the universe lies in sustenance, in rizq. Very interesting. The faculty called the sense of taste, he has placed on the tongue sensitive scales to the number of foods so that they can recognize the tastes of many varieties of sustenance. That is to say, the strangest, richest, most wonderful, most agreeable, most comprehensive, and most marvelous truth in the universe lies in sustenance. Now we see that just as everything has been gathered around sustenance and has looked to it, so does the sustenance in all its varieties subsist through thanks, both material and immaterial, and that offered by word and by state. So again, it could be like trees, right? Or we have a lot of animals have huge tongue, right? Like a cow, like has a big
Mhm.
tongue, but it just, does not really differentiate. It just eats grass the whole day. Or we just eat, I don't know, cherries and put the seeds in a bucket, and we eat some watermelon and put the skin in the bucket, and then the cow just eats it with a great pleasure. But the human being, just with this small piece of flesh, he has the ability to differentiate all the varieties of food, all different tastes, all different, um, it has fragrance, it has smell, it has a different flavor into it, and all these things are in the ability of the human being. We can differentiate all these things. So let me continue. Inshallah, I will try to wrap up. Now we see that just as everything, the strangest, richest, most wonderful, most agreeable, most comprehensive, and most marvelous truth in the universe lies in risk, sustenance. Now we see that just as everything has been gathered around sustenance and looks to it, so does sustenance in all its varieties subsist through things, both material and immaterial, and that offered by word and by state. It exists through things, it produces things, it shows things. For appetite and desire for sustenance are a sort of innate or instinctive things. For appetite and desire for sustenance are a sort of innate or instinctive things. So the attitude of a cat, a simple animal, or even an unbeliever, eating that food and, showing his comfort and pleasure and enjoyment, right? With all my body, all my senses, all my cells, I'm kind of offering an natural and instinctive things in a way to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even unintentionally. Enjoyment and pleasure are a sort of unconscious things offered by all animals. It's only man who changes the nature of that innate things through misguidance and unbelief. He deviates from things and associates partners with Allah. Furthermore, the exquisitely adorned forms, the fragrant smells, the wonderfully delicious tastes in the bounties that are sustenance invite things. They awaken eagerness in animate beings, and through eagerness urge a sort of appreciation and respect, and prompt thanks of a sort. They attract the attention of a conscious beings and engender admiration. They encourage them to respect the bounties. Through this, they lead them to offer thanks, verbal and by act, and to be grateful. They cause them to experience the highest, sweetest pleasure and enjoyment within things. That is, they show that as well as a brief and temporary superficial pleasure through thanks, these delicious foods and bounties gain the favors of the most merciful one, which provide a permanent, true, boundless pleasure. They show that as well as a brief and temporary superficial pleasure through thanks. So it's a very instant pleasure, right? I just get and it disappears, right? In my mouth. So in the beginning of the whole Risale on frugality, Ustad talk about this thing. It's a very short moment that I enjoy it, and it just goes away. It disappears, right? And maybe just a stomach ache remains behind it. I just want to, continue the pleasure. I talk about it. There are some gurus now. They just taste different foods and then they talk about it. But it was very temporary. It just went away right after we taste the food, right? But there is much more into it that he just states one side of it. They show that as well as a brief and temporary superficial pleasure through things, these delicious foods and bounties gain the favors of the most merciful one, which provide a permanent, true, boundless pleasure. Through thanks, these delicious foods and bounties gain the favors of the most merciful one, which provide a permanent, true, boundless pleasure. They cause conscious beings to ponder over the infinite, pleasurable favors of the all generous owner of the treasuries of mercy. They cause conscious beings to ponder over the infinite, pleasurable favors of the all generous owner of the treasuries of mercy. And in effect, to taste the everlasting delights of paradise while still in this world. And in effect, to taste the everlasting delights of paradise while still in this world. Thus, although by means of thanks, sustenance becomes such a valuable, rich, all-embracing treasury, through ingratitude it becomes utterly valueless. So again, Ustad, kind of wraps up all these what we read during the Ramadan in the Ramadan Risala, and then here in the part about on thanks, the shukr, he wraps up everything in the third point to me. So how everything is kind of surrounded around the risk, why we are the whole day running behind the risk, and why that risk is so rich, so different types and varieties of things are put in it. It could be just an astronaut, right? We have to take this three green and yellow and red pills every day to just survive, right? Maybe it could be just injected into our veins, but no, it's not like that. Every single fruit, vegetable, different varieties of uh, beef or meat or fish that we enjoy out there, it has different flavors, different uh, you know taste and scent and everything, very rich. So why it is that important? Why there's so much put into it? So it is then we understand that the whole universe is is working for that. Just for an apple to come to my table, the whole universe is working. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just could have created it out of nothing, but he just shows us, from sun, the moon, the atmosphere, everything is working for that. Even the worms under the earth, just to bring that apple on the table. So there's so much in it that I need to think about. So there was couple of key sentences again. I want to. I took so much time, but sorry. Quote from the Risale on Ramadan. I'm sure you will remember this. In Ramadan, we went through the Ramadan Risale many times. So fasting in Ramadan then is the key to true, sincere, extensive, and universal thankfulness. Fasting in Ramadan is the key to true, sincere, extensive, and universal thankfulness. For at other times of the year, most people whose circumstances are not difficult do not realize the value of many bounties, since they do not experience real hunger. If their stomachs are full, and especially if they are rich, they do not understand the degree of bounty present in a piece of dry bread. We do not understand the degree of bounty present in a piece of dry bread. But when it's time to break the fast, the sense of taste testifies that the dry bread is a precious divine bounty in the eyes of a believer. So we start giving a value, valuing everything given to us. A sip of water, very simple. A piece of dry bread, very simple. During Ramadan, everyone from the monarch to the destitute manifests a sort of gratitude through understanding the value of those bounties. Furthermore, since eating is prohibited during the day, they say those bounties do not belong to me. Those bounties do not belong to me. I'm not free to eat them, for they belong to someone else and are his gift.
Mhm.
I await his command. They recognize the bounty to be bounty and so give thanks.
Mhm.
Thus, fasting in this way is, in many respects, as a key to gratitude, gratitude being man's fundamental duty.
Right.
So, if you come to this third point, you start talking about uh, the sense of taste being, in a way, superior to sustaining my body. In the first and second point, he made that point, right? Uh,
Mhm.
the real point is just sustaining my body, so I shouldn't we go to excesses, right?
Mm. Yeah.
But there is a point there that why all these different senses, tastes, flavors put into this food, why it is there, why it's so rich. So there it comes, this is the wisdom. It's not just for it is physical, temporary, you know, fast going away pleasure, instant
Mhm.
pleasure, just disappears very quickly and gives me trouble at the end. As
Mhm.
explained, its duty is to recognize and weigh up the varieties of divine bounties on the tiny scales present in it to the number of foods, and to send the body and stomach news of the food in the form of things. In this respect, the sense of taste does not only look to the physical stomach,
Mhm.
rather, since it looks also to the heart, spirit, and mind. It has a position and importance superior to the stomach. Again,
Mhm.
the sense of taste does not only look to the physical stomach, rather, since it looks also to the heart, spirit, and mind, it has a position and importance superior to the stomach, and condition it's not wasteful or extravagant, and
Mhm.
is purely to carry out its duty of thanks and recognize and perceive the varieties of divine bounty.
Mhm.
So it starts there. It has a great duty, but if it goes to extravagance, it also leads us to uh, extreme point to access in many other things. You know,
Right.
as we experience in Ramadan during the fast, how it helps us if we can control uh, the risk part. It's helpful for us also to control all the other things, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Just like that, it has a duty from that point of view, and within itself is a great way to the thankfulness, which will just uh, you know make us realize the the value in all kinds of
Mhm.
varieties of ni'mah, the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Exactly.
Again, at this last sentence, he wrapped up saying, whenever your son's spirit rules his body and his heart rules the desires of his nafs, his reason rules his stomach, and he wants pleasure for the sake of offering thanks, then he may eat delicious things. So
Mhm.
this is really hard. Even I, heard many brothers asking, so I can't do this. This doesn't happen uh,
Mhm.
many times, most of the times. So
Mhm.
I can't even approach those uh, niyama risk. It, I guess it's not that complicated. Maybe just again, like in the Ramadan Risale, Ustad opens it for us. You know, uh, yes, we have the ability and taste so many varieties of food, but for example, when we cut it, instead of going excess in our consuming, right? As
Mhm.
a consumer, if
Yeah.
we from time to time limit it and cut it, it just helps us to realize the real value. What was the real value? First of all, to make the connection to the
Mhm.
giver, to the Razak, right? To the
Mhm.
sustainer. So
Yeah.
that was a much bigger pleasure that I am accepted to the presence of the Sultan, and I am gifted the special ni'mah, and it is just according to it's just satisfying all kind of my pleasures, and this is enough for me. And moreover, he has the ability to continue giving it to me. It's not just pleasure. If it is just like this, so rich in this short world, in this limited time, in this fleeting moment, how it's going to be in his in the center of his kingdom, in the center of his sovereignty, right? In the dua for food, after the meal, we say that makar saltanatına celbet, right?
Yes.
Drive us to the center of your sultana, right? Your dominion, your kingdom. So it was just the sample. I was supposed to just taste and be a customer to the real ones. Exactly. I'm not here to be 100% satisfied. It's not the place. I'm just in the presence of the sultan now, right? So I hope I didn't make it more complicated, but I just wanted to bring all these thoughts flying around in my head. So the Ramadan, the fasting, and then the thankfulness, and then rizq, and then frugality, the
right.
valuing all the nima, all the gifts of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are so strongly connected. So that's why I guess Ustad just started with a huge 3 points, just made it about the taste, sense of taste, the rizq.
Exactly. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Brother Bakram, just showing us like the connection and just tying them all just together and making an important point. So while we were just like still there, so I'd like to maybe ask brothers Ali Chatinkaya or Mustafa, so and who else? And I think Brother Hikmet. So if you any one of you would like to just share your thoughts and maybe comments, would be appreciated.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I'd like to share something in a short way. Please. Especially for perhaps Baykar brother indicated, as far as I understand, what is the wisdom that Ramadan, the trees of Ramadan, fasting in the month of Ramadan, frugality and thankfulness. There are a strong relation among them. I think perhaps we can remember from the first word. At the end of the first word, there is a question, and what is our duty? Allah is sending each of us endless bounties. What is our duty? At the end, at the beginning, to say Bismillah. At the end, Alhamdulillah. And in the middle, tafakkur, reflection also is our duty. But how we can reflect, how can we perform this duty of reflection? In that paragraph, as the names of Almighty Allah, Ahad and Samad are mentioned. Why? What is the wisdom? Perhaps we can remember together. Samad and Ahad are stated there. I think to be a frugal man, to be a thankful person, I think these two names should be remembered. As far as I remember from our discussions, the name of Ahad is mentioned here because every sustenance, every bounty, everything we eat, everything we use, is sent by Almighty Allah to our name directly, to my name directly. I think to realize this leads us to see the value of bounties and to thank to Almighty Allah. to remember, to see the manifestations of the name of Ahad on bounties. And Samet, what is the wisdom that the name of Samet is mentioned in this context? Because every bounty is miracle. A glass of water, and a particle of air, everything we use as valuable as the universe, because whole universe is employed by Almighty Allah for every bounty. Every bounty is coming from whole universe. Allah is sending them through universe. To remember this leads us to see the value of bounty, and to see the value of bounty, and to realize that every bounty is sent by Almighty Allah to each of us directly to my name. I think this leads the person believer to be frugal. Frugal man. I think that this kind of relation perhaps there is among fasting, because fasting, as Bakar brother read, fasting leads the believer to see the value of bounties. Fasting leads the person to realize that the real owner of bounties is Almighty Allah. And in fasting, we need the bounties seriously. We feel because of real hunger. I think these three realities help us in becoming a frugal person. I think. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks a lot, brother. Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, brothers Hikmet or Mustafa, would you like to say a couple words?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very much for the insights.
Yes.
And in regards to this sense of taste or stomach, what it comes to my mind is also, I mean, Allah gave us these functions or tools to be used, of course, in the best way. I think the frugality is the sunnah way, to use it or to give the rights of each tools which Allah give us. This also by action is actually a thankfulness. However, if we don't use it at all, if we abstain us from any food or any taste in life, this is maybe like a stinginess, you're not using anything. And when we use too much, that's israf, which is like wastefulness, because these senses, it has very sensitivity. So too much of something, it may lose the property of that sense, meaning like you get a smell of variety of things, many flowers. But if you work in a factory which is full of certain type of perfume or rose, you are going to be saturated. So you may not feel like much the differences between one and two. So similarly, I think Allah give us these things just to taste, but not going in an extensive amount. So this is what comes to my mind. But thank you very much. I think Baykar and Ali made it very clear, but I just want to add this part.
Yeah, no, thank you. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Any yeah, brother Hikmet. So if he's there,
There's nothing I can add right now. Thank you so much. I'm listening. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. No problem. Yeah, I just wanted to hear like just maybe as many people as possible, so as many brothers. That would just at least, I mean, it helps us to see like in different aspects and different angles, and to see and just
it was great to hear the chemistry part from Mustafa.
yeah. Yeah, just talking about maybe just like just giving us a little kind of chemical kind of point. Yeah. But from my like understanding is just when Waikari like started, and just to show even right before like we began, so he was asking some like how we can just make more kind of comments on third point. I was like thinking about like what more we can add, but yeah, then boom, like he started sharing like these really good points, and it also kind of reminded me just the importance of that, like from maybe thinking about like if this is a whole kind of factory or machine, So for the factory, in order to, of course, employ and just to run a factory, so you have to have at least maybe just two important factors of production, like in terms of, let's say, you need some capital and also you need some labor hours to run the factory. So it's just basically you have to give in some input in order to get some output. And if, just human beings, of course, it's just thought about like it's a factory. Of course, God Almighty has given us, just some, sense of eating and tasting and smelling and everything. So just in the same word, of course, to run and perform in a better way. So, and when he just pointed out, of course, the connection from Ramadan. So because the rest of the year, so human beings, of course, we tend to forget the importance and value of bounties that we are surrounded with. And then, of course, we maybe just start like this, maybe forgetting about the importance of our being here, that just to what to do like in this in this world, of course. And I guess I can just make one last kind of point that we made last week. So especially that I think like, and I remembered again from 11th word. So again, like why just when Brother Bakr, like when he mentioned about the importance and taking us to the wisdom, so why again and again, right? So in 11th words, he says, "Oh, people, like just by making this palace and displaying these things, our Lord, the King of the palace, wants to make himself known to you." So right, so I guess like this is the message, this is the purpose in life that somehow we tend to forget for the rest of the year, and even the importance of that black maybe bread, right? So the importance of the bounty. So you therefore should recognize him and try to get to know him, right? And with these adornments, he wants to make himself loved by you. So again, so Allah Almighty, right? So he is sending us back, like again and again, all these important bounties and that just, messages and everything that we have, right? So he would like to just, get to know by all these, like, of course, just human beings and these adornments he wants to make himself loved by you. So our purpose is just to love him because he keeps on giving, right? Every single day. He shows his love for you through these bounties that you see, and that you should love him too by obeying him. And through these bounties and gifts, again, which are to be seen, he shows his compassion and kindness, right? He showed like this, and then you should show your respect for him by offering things. So again, so right, so like this, what is the purpose? Again, to see and to love. So basically, I guess, so the message is like so nice that so Ustad Buddhism, so like again, so he's just reminding us that simple, of course, just not to forget. So yes, and the free. So where does like, of course, frugality just like fit into this? Yes, but if we can recognize and just study all these bounties and the important kind of parts that just again, like just he reminded us from Ramadan, Risalif, and then of course, thanks, like so just yeah, these are the ones. Just why? Because yeah, we need to be so frugal about this because everything is given. We didn't make any of this around us, right? So those are like the bounties. So and then they are given us only for one purpose, to offer thanks and to get to know him. Yeah, just yeah, these are kind of great. So I think like the one we have a one chat, someone left some comment, I guess, that I cannot even maybe just so someone is like just sharing from letters. Yes, my brothers, if those who toady to the worldly and the dissemblers among the misguided lay hold of you due to the weak vein in human nature, think of the above truth and take this poor brother of yours as an example. I assure you with all my strength that contentment and frugality ensure your life and sustenance more than does salary. As for any unlawful money that is given you, they will want a price 1,000 times higher in return. It may also hinder your service of the Quran, which may open for you an everlasting treasury, or it may make you slack in that service, and that would be loss and emptiness, and that if they gave you 1,000 salaries every month, they could not fill its place. All right. So yeah, thanks a lot from letters. And again, just mashallah, another brother is like reminding us from the letters. All right. Shall we begin fourth point, or is this or if you would like to just make any other comments, so that I would love to hear. All right, maybe we can begin fourth point at least a little bit, so for 5 minutes, and then maybe make a couple comments, and maybe then we can stop. All right, so let's move on to fourth point, shall we? According to the hadith, the meaning of which is the thrifty will suffer no family difficulties as regards livelihood. The frugal and economical person will not suffer undue trouble and hardship in supporting his family. There are countless proofs that frugality yields plenty and good living. For instance, I have seen myself, and I can say, according to the testimony of those who have befriended and assisted me, that by being frugal, I have sometimes seen a tenfold increase, and so have my friends. Even 9 years ago, and now it is 30, a number of tribal leaders who were exiled to border, together with me, did their best to make me accept their zakat, so that I would not suffer privation and humiliation due to lack of money. I said to those rich leaders, I have very little money, but I am frugal and economical, and I am accustomed to being content with little. I am richer than you. I refused their repeated and insistent offers. It is worth noting that 2 years later, some of those who had offered me their zakat were in debt because they had not been frugal. Praise be to God, 7 years on from that, thanks to the plenty resulting from frugality, that small amount of money was still sufficient for me. It did not degrade me or nor compel me to present my needs to the people, nor make me deviate from my way of self-sufficiency and being independent of people, which is one of the principles of my life. The person who is not frugal is certain to be abased and reduced to poverty, and in effect to begging. At the present time, money, the means of wastefulness and extravagance, is extremely expensive. Sometimes a person sells his honor and self-respect, and bribes are taken to obtain it. Sometimes the sacred things of religion are sold, then some inauspicious money received in return. That is to say, material goods worth 10 krush are procured in return for an immaterial loss of 100 lira. However, according to the implied meaning of the verse, indeed, it is God who gives all sustenance, Lord of all power and strength. 51, 58. And the explicit meaning of the verse, and there is no moving creature and on the earth, but its sustenance is provided by God. 11:6. If a person is frugal and restricts his needs to the essential, he will find enough sustenance to live on in honest, unexpected ways. The verse guarantees it. Yes, there are two sorts of sustenance. One is true sustenance, which is enough to subsist on. As the verse decrees, this is guaranteed by the sustainer, so long as man's inclination towards evil does not interfere. He will find this essential sustenance under any circumstances. He will be compelled to sacrifice neither his religion, nor his honor, nor his self-respect. The second sort is metaphorical sustenance, due to which and its abuse, inessential needs become like essential ones. And owing to the calamity of custom and tradition, people become addicted to them and cannot give them up. Such sustenance is not guaranteed by the sustainer, so the obtaining of it's extremely expensive, especially at the present time. These unfruitful, inauspicious goods are obtained by, first of all, sacrificing one's self-respect and accepting degradation, and sometimes stooping to what is in effect begging, kissing the feet of the vile, and sometimes sacrificing the sacred things of religion, which are the light of eternal life. Also, at this time of poverty and hardship, the distressed people with conscience feel at the anguish of the hungry and needy soars any pleasure to be had from unlawfully acquired money. As far as doubtful goods are concerned, one has to make do with them to the minimum degree necessary during strange times such as these. For according to the rule, necessity is determined according to its extent. If compelled, illicit goods may be taken to the minimum degree necessary, not more. Someone in dire need may eat prohibited meat, but he may not eat his fill. He may eat enough only to remain alive. Also, one could not eat much with full appetite in the presence of 100 people who are hungry. The following is a story showing that frugality is the cause of dignity and distinction. One time, Khatim Day, who was world famous for his generosity, was giving a large banquet. Having given his guests a superfluity of presents, he went out to walk in the desert. There he saw a poor old man carrying a load of thorny bushes and plants on his back. The thorns were piercing his skin and making him bleed. Khatim said to him, Khatim Tay is giving a large banquet and giving away gifts. Go there and you will be given 500 krush in return for your load worth 5 krush. The frugal old man replied, I raise and carry this thorny load with my self-respect. I'm not going to become obliged to Khatim Tay. Later they asked Khatim Tay, have you come across anyone more generous and estimable than yourself? He replied, the frugal old man I met in the desert was more estimable, elevated, and generous than me. All right, so this is fourth point, and it's a long one, and I don't think so. We could just like have another hour to talk about it. But so anyone would like to make comment, or maybe just we can leave it for next week, then to discuss like in detail, I believe. So, but it was a really kind of just nice one, another one to reminding us to of course, I mean, just to become like a much, of course, I'm just frugal than ever before, and to recognize and to see the importance of acting like and behaving in such way. Any comments or anything like that?
Thank you very much. Not a problem.
Okay, maybe.
Rabbi Karavi, please go ahead.
Mashallah, it was very self-explanatory to me. You know, as soon as I read when you read the first paragraph, it's saying, you know, he who is thrifty will not have family difficulties as regards livelihood. This is hadith, and you start thinking about the application part. So yeah, I need to, you know, calculate my sources and, you know, just try to make the end of the month, this kind of thing. Then I said, no, this is not doesn't have anything to do with that. Of course, it, you know, it has a practical part, the application part, but is more going to the roots. And then in the you know, at the end of the page, the verse just explains it. It says, it is Allah who gives all sustenance, Lord of all power and strength. So in the hadith, Prophet ﷺ talks that sure, because Allah is the sustainer, period. You know, yeah, when you value it, when you know the value of the ni'mah, and, you know, give thanks, as in the you know, beginning of the chapter about thanks, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just makes it clear there too. You know, if you give thanks, I shall increase to you. I shall increase my favors to you. So that is again, that I guess the key point here, that first of all, why these are given, and then what is expected at the end of all this ni'mah. So if I value the ni'mah, anyways, I shouldn't waste it. I wouldn't waste it. I would just respect it in a way.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that was the first thought that just came to my mind.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you. So you were saying something?
Yeah, Nazif abi, the examples you read it, like when Ustad is present with also some rich people, around him. And also the example like Hatem Tai at the end, it shows that Ustad is redefining being rich, because in his status he says, I am richer than those rich people, because those people who are rich, they want to give their zakah to the Ustad, and Ustad saying that, no, I mean, I have little money, but I'm not going to accept it, so I'm richer than you. That means that what comes to me, Ustad, in a way saying that the rich is not the one who has the most. The rich
Right.
is the one who needs the least,
Exactly.
So Ustad doesn't need much, and he control his feeling, his mind, all of these things, and Allah is putting the barakah. So it's an amazing, point. Maybe we need more time, with
You
this
need more
next
time,
week.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah, thank you very much for the great sessions.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all of you, just who participated and joined us this week. And so I don't want to take a lot more time, so maybe we can finish exactly the same way like we did last week. So just read this highlighted part. So he says, like, as a prayer. I like the just meaning of Azam's words. Whenever your son's spirit rules his body, and his heart rules the desires of his soul, and his reason rules his stomach, and he wants pleasure for the sake of offering things, then he may eat delicious things, inshallah. So, and may Allah help us to practice this, inshallah, and make some sort of kind of rule in our life, at least maybe just like some of it, if not the whole. Again, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys, inshallah, next week. So at the same times, and we will talk more about